At Bloom, we strongly believe in co-creation, collaboration, and teamwork. I invite each and every one of you to be a part of Bloom, where together we grow. And as Bloom blossoms, let me introduce my co host, Mr. K.V. Premraj. Premraj is a futurist. He is a speaker on leadership and management. Having spent 37 years in the banking and financial services sector, he has experience of work in public and leading private sector banks. Premraj hails from Mumbai and resides with his wife, his son, his daughter in law, mother in law, and pet cat in law. We are very fortunate to have a guest with us today, an international speaker and Olympian. I request Premraj to introduce her and take this meeting forward. Over to you, Premraj.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you for that very kind introduction. We have on our show a 4 times Olympian in Reina Flor. She has represented France and Equatorial Guinea in the Olympics. In the last Olympics at Rio, she had the honor of being the flag bearer of our country's contingent, a privilege bestowed only on a select few. 100 meters hurdles is a pet event. Reina is conversant in 5 European languages. She has been the brand ambassador for sports goods giants like Adidas and Puma. You can't get better than that. Using her sports legacy and African soul blueprint, Reina inspires and coaches international business people, executives, and athletes. She helps to redefine the new psychology of hurdling over difficulties to lead and win. Welcome to the show, Reina.
Hello everybody. Bonjour. I am so happy to be here. It's really an honor for me. Thank you so much for having me.
We are privileged to have you. So let's take this forward.
Yes.
Please take us through your journey from the heart of Africa to France and 4 Olympics across 3 continents.
Sure, that's a very good question to start, because when we hear me speaking, we can hear that I have a big French accent, and in the same time, I am coming from Africa. So that's a very interesting story, right?
Right.
And the story is that I grew up in Guinea Equatorial until the age of 3, but because of threats, it was not longer a safe place to live. When Guinea Equatorial became independent from the Spanish colonization, it was a dictatorship. And you could find yourself to the wrong place, wrong person, wrong moment. It was not a safe place to live anymore. And for my parents, it was not good. So they decided to leave and to study abroad. So this is how I came to France by the age of 3. And yeah, not really into sports, not really fanatic of sports. I was a little girl, like maybe you know your nephews or daughters at that age, until 13 years old. I was a little girl dreaming, wandering around, not knowing that I had a particular talent for sports. But then at my school, there was a teacher who saw my talent. And because he was a sport teacher, he has observed how I could run fast or execute everything, the exercises. So he had seen my talent. And one day he asked me if I wanted to run to a local competition. And for me, it was really great because I was living in a neighborhood and there was nothing really interesting to do there. So it was a huge opportunity to take the bus, to go to the city and to go to the stadium and see all these children from all around the city. So for me, it was a great excitement, and this is how it started. I run like Forrest. I always say like that, run Forrest. I had no technique, no particular skills, but I won the competition, and this is how it started. I don't know if it answered the question, but so my talent was really a natural talent, and it appears that everything that I had to do, and according to sports, was very effortless. It was very easy. Where for some other people in my group, they took a lot of time to understand the movements. But for me, I could execute very well. And so that is how I became the best in my country and the best in Europe, and then be part of the French team.
Wow, that's quite a story. God given
Yes.
talent that you nurtured. You mentioned one of the teachers in school was a person who inspired you to take up running and you helped you in the initial stages. Apart from this person, is there anyone else who inspired you to become an Olympian?
Well, from the early ages of my career as an athlete, again, it's a very interesting metaphor, because I'm sure you have young people around you and they have the talent, you see it, but they don't see it. So how can you inspire them? And my sport teacher was like a mentor. He was really like a professor. He was really patient, and also very humble. And he took the time to make me become a champion, you know. The first time I went to the Olympics, I was 24. So from the age of 13 till the age of 24, people really have to realize that it's not coming from one day to another. It takes at least 10 years to take a diamond, which is brute, and then that you're going to make it so that it becomes a big diamond worth millions. I don't know if it's a good metaphor, but so it took me some years. But the moment I saw the Olympic Games of Atlanta, it was in 1996, I saw a French woman named Patricia Girard, and she was running, and she won a medal. And I was with my 16 years old, a young fellow in sports, looking at that. I was looking at the TV, the Olympics, everybody walking with the flags and all the countries coming inside the stadium and waving, and the French team. And I remember all the emotions were coming inside of me, like coming and coming. And then I was thinking, I want to be there. I want to be there. And this is how I believe my passion for becoming a top athlete came from, the dream of having this opportunity to experience such an event.
Thanks for sharing that. Yes, you were an uncut diamond which got polished and shined to really shine on the world stage.
Thank you.
As a top flight athlete, can you let us know a bit about your training routine?
Yes, that is very interesting, because it's a life of dedication. It is almost a monarchical life. But it is natural. It doesn't feel difficult. I would wake up early and go to bed early. That's first. Not so much distractions, not so much activities outside going to school, because I was not into a sports school. I was in a normal school and doing top sports. So I can let you imagine the rhythm was 8 o'clock going to school, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock getting out of school, 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock going to sports, dinner, sleep. So that was really my life. And They were the most beautiful moment of my life, I must say. And it went that fast. I can't believe it. It was really great. So that's the journey, okay? But of course, when you are an athlete, there are many factors that you have to master very well. And now that I have finished with Top Sport, I can share them to you. You can use them also for your professional career, because I really consider that we are like modern days athletes. Today, we really need to master these 5 pillars that I can share to you that I have learned. So the first one is mental health. We all know athletes need to be strong mentally. They really need to perform right. But there are many different levels of mental health. Actually, there is the first level, how to learn to discipline your body to do the right move. Okay, so this comes with practice and visualization of the movement. I don't know, sometimes you can see it on the TV when you watch sports. You see athletes doing some strange moves. They're like, and you wonder what they're doing, but actually they are reversing the movement. So this is the mental training to be able to do the right movement. Then there is the mental training to be able to handle the pressure. You know, when you are playing sports and someone is going to push you to try to get you lose control, to take your emotions out, for example, and win. So these are, we call them triggers, strategies that you really know how to do from the moment that you're going to enter the stadium for the competition. Okay, from the moment you're going to enter the stadium, how you're going to do, put your jacket, how you're going to put your shoes. Some athletes have some things like they touch their ear, and for them it's like a moment they understand that they're going to do something specific. So these are very mental trainings that we learn to keep control on the process, because to deliver such a high level performance, it takes focus. But there is a lot of distraction everywhere. But you cannot be also very with a lot of tension. You have to find moments to relax. And I'm going to share you a story, a true story, where I have learned that the hard way, because it was such a painful experience. But now I can share it to you. It was for my first Olympic Games in Athens 2004. I was the best in France and a promising athlete for the final and maybe to win a medal. And then we were to the call room. So the last race before the final, all athletes go to a call room. And the call room is a very small room, like 2 meters square, where 8 athletes are waiting. And we wait something like 30 minutes, and we wait and we wait. But we have to run. We have to run against each other. It's competition, right? So I can let you feel the emotion. We are like waiting, and in the same time, there is tension. Some athletes look at you in the eyes. They want to kill you before the race, you know, take your energy. And you have to find ways to keep relaxed, you know, because you're going to use all your energy otherwise. And my first Olympic, I didn't understand that. And so something happened. 5 from the 8 athletes suddenly started talking. Like you and I. They were talking like we are having a coffee somewhere, or a nice tea, before an important race. And I was like, what are you doing now? In my head, I was like, no, I know it's a trick. You're trying to distract me. No. You will see. I'm going to win this race. No. And I was like, woo. My head was like, woo. And then we went to the track, and I completely failed my race. What happened is that I didn't understood this very important key, is that if we have to deliver a very important performance, we cannot be under pressure all the time. We really have to learn to relax and find some triggers. So we call it some things, some little exercises to just switch off a little bit depression, because we already know what we have to do. The body really know how to perform. So this was a very important experience I have learned.
Thanks for sharing this. So behind this, thanks for taking us through some of the behind the scenes things that happen, some of the strategies that people really do something so that they can put off their opponents, and that's what happened sadly to you.
Yeah, but it's part of it's part of the game. It's part of sports. But
Yeah.
even if it's not someone who do that, I was talking with a director of a big company, and he was explaining that he felt that when he was going to present a project to a huge company, okay, another sponsor or partnership, a very important contract, but the person made him wait 30, 40 minutes, and he was waiting there at the sofa. That's exactly the same image of the call room. What do you do when you are there and you have to stay calm, you know? So that's why I share this.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing the cold room. That cold room also happens in corporate world. Now let's move back to the Olympics. You were part of 4 Olympics: Athens 2004, Beijing 2008, London 2012, Rio 2016. Amongst these 4, which was the most memorable one for you and why?
Yes, I really we in France there is something a phrase from Pierre de Coubertin. So Pierre de Coubertin, he's, we say, one of the founder of the Olympic values, and which is the most important is to participate. So,
Yes, it is.
but it's not so easy to, when you're an athlete, you want to win, you know, you win or you lose. There's no point, you participate. We don't like this. But now I really can value that. I have participated and I have represented my country and my passion for sports, and that's a huge opportunity. But for me, the most important Olympics, I think, were the last one, even if the results, the circumstances were really bad, really bad. But for the first time, I understood what does it mean to be an ambassador of your country. We are all ambassadors of our country, of our values. When we stand to the world, we represent something, some values. And that I felt that for the first time. And it was really a warm feeling for me because it was for Africa. And I grew up in France. I got access to so many great resources to perfect my skills that other talents in Africa don't. But then for me, it was really like the great opportunity to show that if we have access to the necessary resources, we can win, we can succeed.
True.
And so for me, that was the huge, like, to realize that was really beautiful for me.
Thank you. Now let's talk about performance enhancing drugs. How prevalent is that in sports?
Yes, that's a subject which nobody likes to talk about.
That's the reason I brought it up.
That's a very tough topic. I know you guys have some athletes in India who have been banned for 4 years for doping, and there is one who was even innocent. He was banned for 4 years. This brings me to the second pillar I wanted to explain, which is the nutritional health. There is something that has always struck me when we are from Africa or from India, is that we have such a knowledge about health, holistic health. Everything that is in the nature all the plants we can use to boost our energy. We have so much, but still we follow the Western style of using some kind of drugs. Sorry, because my daughter is bothering me now. I have to cut for a moment.
Only we find sports person makes a lot of money while being active. But due to poor money management, their post-retirement life is not easy. Why is this prevalent and what can be done about it?
So nutritional health is very important. We know that it's obvious, right? I mean, if we don't, for an athlete, if you don't eat right, you can't perform. Actually, these are the three pillars of health: mental health, nutritional health, and physical health. You remove one of them and you cannot do it. You can't do it. Why do athletes go to that direction of finding ways to enhance the performance? There might be two reasons. The first reason is because when we train so hard, the body is working very hard, like a machine, you know, and there is no way to get rid of the dust that the body generates. So to find the balance, we have to get a good nutrition, a good sleep, because all the vitamins, the minerals, the micronutrients which are in the food, they're going to help to support our immune system and to restore, to recover, etc. For example, if we sleep early, before 10, we produce a higher level of growth hormone, and testosterone. That's a natural process. Now, why we tend to go beyond the limits? It is because the level of training is so intensive that many athletes finally want to keep on pushing, and it is very a borderline situation, you know. But I really have to tell you, it's important, because when you are a top athlete, you are not like an everyday person. The amount of food you need is 10 times more. But it doesn't mean that it's a quality. Okay, so how do you do that? You are not going to eat 50 bananas a day because you need some level of potassium. So that is why the supplements, and they are coming and taking place there, okay, to really help the body create this process. But then we have a problem with the supplements, because there is a huge difference between what is written on the box and what is inside. And many athletes have been lied to, because you have to be a biochemist, a biolog, an expert in this kind of knowledge to understand exactly that this component doesn't fit with that component inside the same vitamins or supplements. And then the reaction is that your body creates more toxicity, or there might be a hidden prohibited product inside. So there are some athletes who really find themselves trapped in this, like they take some supplements and they think it's good, but there is something inside. That's first thing. And the second, they take some supplements, but the body doesn't accept them because the composition is not right. The composition doesn't respect the integrity of the cells. And I have really, for me, I have learned it the hard way, because coming from Africa, living in Europe, I totally embraced the European way of eating. But actually, it was not good. Imagine you have an elephant and you give him some meat. After 1 month, 2 months, you will see it's going to be like, you know, but everybody's the same. For everybody's the same. If you see a young, beautiful Indian lady, and then she goes to live to the USA, and then you meet her 10 years later, and everything changed: skin, hair texture, thin, everything is gone. Why? Because the way we eat, it's totally different. A lot of empty calories. We eat food per kilo, but empty per nutrition, uh, per nutritional value. So that's just a story, but it's really true. It's for everybody. But when you are a top athlete, then you have to find ways to understand your epigenetics. It means how to eat according to your fundamental needs. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Because if we don't do that, we have for sure inflammations, injuries. And then how to learn to select the right supplements. Because otherwise we are going, it's not going to be enough. And then someone somehow, some way will tell you, what, look, you take this and you will be the best. So there are many different levels to doping. It's a very tricky conversation. It's a very tricky conversation, because if you put science in that, it can go very far to a cellular level. Some athletes, you will never find anything in their blood if you make doping tests, because they have mastered another science, which is to transform your body without that. There is no trace at all. You don't see nothing, but it is through different processes.
And there are some states also who encourage this, and they support their athletes to hide and mask this.
Yes, and I don't know really if you. There were some studies in the USA, for example. Some athletes were asked, if you would have the opportunity tomorrow to become Olympic champion, would you take doping? If you take it and then you're Olympic champion, would you do that? And a lot of people said yes. So then it's really a mental health.
It is. And it's a tightrope walk. It's a tightrope walk too. You need to be careful about it.
How far can you go to reach your performance? It's also in the world of, in the career, in a professional world, where people are pushing beyond the limits and taking these drugs and that drugs. Actually, I really believe that we have the potential to find the balance through holistic health. I believe a lot in Ayurveda. There's so much power in this science. But of course, it takes time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
And you're happy. We're happy to know Ayurveda is being looked at in the sports world with positive intent. Thank you for that.
Yes, really.
Yeah. There's one technical question that always intrigued me. Why is that athletes always run around the stadium counterclockwise and not clockwise?
Oh, that's an interesting question that I unfortunately won't be able to answer. I don't know. Next time I will answer that one. It's the first time that someone asked me that question, so I will never forget it.
You have now embarked on coaching and public speaking, impacting athletes and business people. Mind telling us a bit more about it?
Yes, it is a skill that everybody needs to master in order to create impact or influence or inspiration. I think when you work with people, I think to master this art of speaking is very important. But we have to take it as a skill, not something that we think we use it as like it's not written anywhere that I am a speaker or that I can coach people for speaking. What I do is that because, first of all, I have learned this art with Chris Baldwin, you know, or
Yes, I know Chris. I've been interacting with Chris for some time now.
from TEDx speaking. And
Yes.
I got introduced to Chris by Mind Valley Academy. So Mind Valley, whose founder is Vishen Lakiani, maybe you know, I had the opportunity to become to give a speak for them. One day I went to an event, and then the people there, they got to know that I was an Olympic athlete, and then they all wanted to hear my story, but I was not really prepared. It became like this. And so the event organizer, she introduced me to Chris because she said, it's good you craft a speech. So this is how it started for me. And we really worked very well with Chris to really understand why it is important to know how to share your voice, how to use the right emotional tones, how to understand the psychology of the people you're talking with also. Because many times we want to say something, but the people don't get it because their system is different. So who's to blame? Us. So we better learn this art, you know. So now I use it for my students because I have MBA students that I train. They are candidates for doing a memory. They have to pitch, you know. So I train them how to master the speech map, for example. I also train executives on how to pitch in 1 minute or 3 minutes who they are, what are their values, what do they believe in, how do they see the future for their company. So for me, this is a very important tool I use on my trainings to help people to relax a little bit more with this intention of starting to talk with someone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
How many people have had like a master degree, a PhD, and then they have to talk, and suddenly they're like, yes, now, okay, bye
Yeah, it
bye.
happens. It happens. It happens.
You lost everything.
Yeah.
And it's a pity, you know. Whereas if it's a training, just like on sports. So that is why I integrate this into the process of it's personal marketing, actually, I call it. Okay. It's inside the process of personal marketing. Learning to speak is one of the pillars.
That's interesting to know. Interesting to know. And wish you all the very best in your new venture too.
Yes,
My,
and you know that you can have access to these free courses that Chris has created. Everybody can get access to that.
I've
It's
already I've
because-
already taken advantage of that.
yes.
My last question to you before I hand over to my co-host. Will we see you at the Olympics next year in Tokyo, either as an athlete or as an official of one of the countries you proudly represented?
Yes, I cannot answer the question. I really don't know. I don't think that I'm going to be an athlete anymore because I am 40 years old. I think it's time to do something else. Yeah, sport is for young people. It's crazy, but top sports, if you are 35, you're already old. You know, when I remember my last year, I was saying I'm 35. They were looking at me, go home. No, I'm joking, but not as an athlete, that's for sure. Yes, age is just a number. That's true. I agree.
Right, we can set 40.
Yes, but no, not as an athlete, but certainly maybe for the Olympic Games of Paris. You know, we have Olympic Games in Paris in 2024.
Yeah.
And so with my company that I have created, which is called The Beauty of Sports, BOS, I think that we will be there.
And we'll be rooting for you. Don't worry, we'll be rooting for you.
Yes.
Yes. Maybe you will be there too.
Oh,
That's quite a thought.
yes.
Okay, now I hand over to Deepak to take this forward before he hands
Yeah.
it over to me to wind up. Deepak, all yours.
Thank you, Premraj. These are such wonderful questions, probing questions, and everything that she has inside her just comes out, and everybody learns from her experiences. So, my first question to you, Rena, is you have such a beautiful name. Does it mean anything in your local or your native language?
How? I didn't expect that. Yes, we have names and they all have a meaning, right?
Yes.
Everybody.
Yeah.
My name is a Spanish name. It's Reina Flor,
Yes.
and it is Queen of Flower.
Wow.
Wow, wow, wow. The queen of flowers has come to bloom on bloom. Wow, what a
Oh,
imagine.
wonderful.
Wow, 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 wow. So
But
we are just
it's
so happy
my
to be
mom.
with you. Yeah,
Thank you so much. My mother chose this name. It's not me,
yeah.
and of course not. And actually, I made some research, and Reina Flor is the queen of flower, and the queen of flower is the rose.
Rose.
And my mother's name is Rosie. So
Oh,
I think that without that, she knew she gave me like her
yeah,
name. But
yeah.
I also have an African name, which is Inami. And Inami is the spirit of the equatorial jungle.
Mm,
It is a spirit, and
yes,
we tell stories with words. Okay,
yeah, yeah.
and when I was born, after a few days, the shaman came and saw me, and he said, "This is Enami," and
Wow.
so Inami is the spirit of the forest. But so
Yeah.
now you know
So
everything.
as yeah, and you touched upon this. Being African, your names have meanings. Being Indians, each and every one of our name has meaning. It is not like Jack and John or a Jane or something like that, where you have hundreds and thousands of the same names. Each individual has a name which has a meaning. Prem Raj is Prem and Raj, king of love. You know, so
Oh,
yeah,
beautiful.
Prem is king of love. So each and every person has a meaning, and you really have a wonderful name. And congratulations to your mom for naming you properly. So happy to have you here. So I just want to take off from two or three things which Prem Raj touched upon, and we titled this program saying "Overcoming Obstacles to Achieve Peak Performance." Very rarely do you see an Olympian come to the next Olympics, forget four Olympics together. You know, many a times we see these one Olympic wonders where a person enters, achieves success, and then disappears. What makes an Olympian continue and keep on doing that same thing so that he or she can last for four Olympics?
That's a very interesting question because, of course, we are talking as if we talk about going to the Olympics as going to holiday.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's really
Yeah.
not true. France is one of the biggest country in sports. We have great athletes who are Olympic medalists who win. Other countries, like in cricket, in India, you have cricket. You have great
Yes.
athletes. It takes a lot of work,
Yes.
and to become an Olympian, you have to be the best in your
Yes.
country.
Yeah.
So it's not that a standard. They say, "Oh, Reina Flor is a beautiful name. We're going to take her." No, you have to be the first. So how do you do to be the first? You have to run the competition, the national competition. And the national competition is every year. You have to be
Mm.
ready. The right day, the right hour, the right second is not 1 minute before, 1 minute later. That day exactly, you have to be there.
Yeah.
And then the others also, they are prepared. They also want their piece of the cake.
Yes.
So they have the same intention. So that's something that we really have to realize. It takes preparation. It's not something that is a gift, you know. And I think for me, one of my, how do you say, advantage is that it's not that I was thinking about winning. I was thinking, what do I have to do to win? I knew I could win. So I was thinking, uh, in terms of strategy, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to win? So then there come the three pillars again: mentally, physically, nutritionally, marketing wise. So how to find sponsors to get access to that financial wealth that I need to support my needs as an athlete. So I really learned from the young age to do that. But it was not conscious. That's why most athletes are unconscious leaders, because we do things like CEOs, but we don't realize that.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, to have faith of something beyond yourself. It's that's like, if I do it, fine. If I don't do it, fine. You know, I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not my performance. My mama
Yeah.
loves me
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think I was also very fortunate. But you know, there is a big difference between becoming the best in your country and becoming the
And the
best in
best
the
in
world.
the world. Yes.
And that's very important. I really have to acknowledge that for all these champions who keep coming back again and becoming the best in the world.
Yes.
I didn't have that privilege. I was always between the best 20 in the world. I was going to the final, and then I was not mentally strong enough to handle the pressure many
Yeah.
times, you know. And this is important to say it also.
Yeah.
Top sport is really a mental game, and it's a nice metaphor for life.
Yes. You may be the best in your country, but in the Olympic race, you may come last. That will probably destroy you and, tell you, why did I come here? Why did I do this? How can I take all this humiliation? How does that same athlete decide? No, 4 years later, I will prove myself wrong. Leave everybody else. I will challenge my limits.
And that's really the race of life, right?
Yeah.
Fall 10 times, stand up again.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
you know the biggest lesson I have learned?
Yeah.
Why do you stand up again? What are you running for?
Yeah.
Or what are you running from?
From fantastic.
And for me, that was my lesson.
Yeah.
I was very resilient and stubborn.
Yeah.
So I was always getting up again. And because I had a slight national advantage, I would win the national championship and I would go through the semifinals. Now,
Yeah.
it's not good because I'm very minimizing my talent. No, but it's really to say, if you can be very strong, but if you are
Yeah.
not brought up the right way mentally,
Yeah. Yes.
it's very hard to reach this little centimeters, millimeters that is going to make you win that
Yes.
Olympic medal. And I have
Yeah.
tried it again, and I have tried it again, and I have tried it again, and I have tried it again. And I
Yeah.
didn't really master that, you know. So for me, it was a huge lesson to understand that yes, physical training is important. Yes, nutritional training is important. But it's really important to take the mental training on a spiritual level,
Yes.
on a spiritual level, so that we really learn how to get rid of the ego. Use the ego for the performance. When you have to fight, you have to run, you need your ego. But
Yes.
to use more like the spirituality, the energy of love, of happiness, of joy, nothing to prove, nothing to show, nothing to defend, but to enjoy the process of running.
Yes.
That's for me for me personally, okay? Other athletes will say something else.
Yeah.
But for me, I was like one queen of flower trying to run like a soldier. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think it for me that was a little bit that I didn't understand what I was running for
Yeah. Yeah.
or what I was running from.
Running from. Yeah. You mentioned that you started at 13 and your first Olympics was at 24. They say it takes a decade to become an overnight success. You have to put in your 10,000 hours. But how does it feel for a 24-year-old running in the Olympics and seeing 15, 16-year-olds running, performing better than you are and winning? Does something in your mind tell you, wish I could have started earlier? And I want you to stress upon this that whatever you want to do, why is it important to start early?
Well, when you are 13 years old, it's not early. Okay. There are some parents who put their children on sport when they are 4 years old, and they push them and
Right.
they push them. Don't do that because before that, it's only playing, playing,
Yes.
playing, playing, playing. And the intention to become a top sporter should come naturally because of the results. So that's something I can answer about that.
Yeah.
It should not be forced. And everybody has his own talent.
Yeah.
We are on the same race. Everybody, I see many faces here, and it really looks like a corridor, a race. But we are different people.
True.
Yes.
We are different people. So it's your line, your race, your way.
Yes. So when you are 13-year-old and you have now decided that I'm going to be practicing sports, I'm going to be spending my time running, training, and doing only this clearly focused. And you see your friends in school, in college, going to parties, late night discos. How does a person feel and take that mind off from that? No, I don't want to do this thing. This is what I want to do. This is what I will be achieving.
Yeah, that's a nice question because for me it was, being a top athlete is like you are a superstar. So why do you want to go hang out? I mean, you you have access to the greatest places, the greatest hotels, the greatest parties when it's time to. So it's
Yeah.
really quantity over quality. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, it was a huge opportunity to do that.
Mm.
And of
Yeah.
course, the temptations.
And
I read that
yes, yes,
temptations. Well,
yeah,
if you drink too much alcohol, you have like 3 days to get back. And your coach, he doesn't care if you have been partying. The next morning, you show up, and he's gonna do the training,
yes,
and you will finish like you vomiting and puking, and so no, it's not. It cannot work together. This kind of temptation.
yeah,
If you sleep late,
yes,
the same. It's depth, depth, depth. So it's not possible.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So I was very dedicated, fortunate, and
yeah,
yeah, fortunately, I was really
yeah,
dedicated.
yeah, yeah. So I want to ask you this question specifically because you have humble backgrounds. You're from Africa. If you see most long distance runners, marathoners, somehow are Africans, people from Africa, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria. Is there some method in this madness, or is there something which these people are putting in? Is there that raw energy? Is it some animal instinct? Is it spirituality? Is it something else, or a combination of everything?
Wow, that's a wonderful question, and I thank you for asking me that. I really want to answer this question. I have to tell you, Africa, like India, it's a huge continent. Okay, it's not like Europe. We are really, really big. And we have a long story of leaders, great people who have built the continent. Africa is 38 million kilometers, 57 countries. Before the
Yeah.
European came to colonize Africa, there were five major kingdoms. And the kingdom where I was coming from is from the Bantu. And so there are different characteristics from the people because you were talking about long distance runner and sprinter. It is totally different. It is the same if you say people from Mumbai, people from New Delhi. You know that there are different
Yes.
characteristics of people. So
Yes.
my characteristic of people, the Bantu people, are people who were like soldiers. They are very strong physically. They have these strengths to do explosive things. They have this. They can be very tall but very muscle. You know, that's the genetics of these people, the Bantu. But if you go
Yes.
to the Nubians, the Ethiopian people, you know, they are long and lean, and they have more this very hot Kenyan. They can run long, and they seem to be endlessly never tired, you know. But they're
Yes.
also the Bushman people, people in the south, which we call them the Zulu land. You know, now they're different
Yes.
countries, but it was
Yes.
Zulu land, and they are also great
Yeah.
hunters. They could go days and days hunting. But now we live in a Western environment, and we are everywhere. But the genetics is still here. So
It's
that's
still
one
there.
explanation. Okay, that's one explanation. I have, I think I have this like I always say it's like an unfair advantage, like this capacity
Yes.
to have explosive and speed. You know, it's a genetical. Um, God has made us like that. You know, but
Yeah.
now history is showing again how our countries were very advanced, you know. Now we can say the truth about the pyramids, about Egypt, about
Yes.
all
Yes.
the knowledge and the sciences that are coming from Africa. So this is all to close
Yeah.
the story. But it's still
Yes.
it's dear to my heart. You know why? Because
Yes. Yeah.
in the USA, for example, these black people from the USA, these Afro descendants, they are still fighting to be honored
Yes.
as human, you know, in this country.
Yes. Yeah.
But
Black
actually,
Lives Matter. Yes.
yeah, but actually, it's still the same in Africa. In Africa, black lives don't matter. If you
Yeah.
are Hutu, you're gonna be killed by Tutsi. You
Yeah.
know, in the same country. If you are from, so I really don't know how is the situation in India, but that's I did an experiment that when I was an Olympic athlete, because being an Olympic athlete is all the country coming together,
Yes.
regardless of you are this caste, you are this tribe, you are that
Yes.
color, you are
Yes.
that, all
Correct.
together, gathering for
Yeah.
the love of sports. What a lesson for
Yeah.
life. What makes
Yes.
me say that I am more different than you or not? And this is what sports has told me, to really embrace humankind with kindness and compassion and love, because we all have our genetics and then we all have our culture. And in France, if you go to the south of France, Côte d'Azur, it's a totally different culture than in Paris or in the east of France where I grew up, you know. And so that's for me what I've learned.
We were having a short interaction just 2 days back where you stressed this point that it is very, very important to be a good money manager, to manage your finances well. And we have seen multiple examples of top athletes, sportsmen, Olympians who go bankrupt in a few years after they have achieved all their glory? Just touch upon what your learnings are.
Yes, money is really important. It's a finance and the energy of finance. And many people don't understand it. Even if you are a doctor, you cannot have the right education on finance. Because what I mean with that is to know how to transform your money and to create wealth, which is going to help you to create a legacy for you, for your children, for your
Yes.
grandchildren, for your grandchildren, and for your whole community. Many people learn to go to school, find a job, and maybe buy a house, and then that's it. It's already good, right? But when you are an athlete, money comes fast. It goes a lot of money, and suddenly you have to become a banker. But you don't know nothing about that. No education. Which investment to do? What kind of placement to do? What kind of good people of trust to find? Because unfortunately, more money, more problem in this sense that young people and so for me it was also a very painful a little bit painful journey because I had no education on finance and how to transform this wealth. So I have made wrong investments, and I had also one time an agent which was not a true agent. No. So how can you find that when you finally realize that all your money was lost, gone, and you go to the police and you say that person, and then the police look at the name and they say, oh yes, we know that person, she stole that one, she stole that one, she's, oh yes, okay, now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the wealth management is very important. I can talk a lot now with humor because I'm not running for money. But I think that for many people, and I know you have some experts in finance, it is really to integrate this educational concept of finance, how to learn how to work the money, how to transform it, and how to let it work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Great learnings from there. My last two questions before I hand over to Premraj, we could open up the floor for the audience. We have people who have stayed throughout this last 60, 65 minutes. You are a brand ambassador of two very, very big brands. When you become a brand ambassador for a brand, for a company, you stand for something. This is who you are, or this is how you are supposed to be. This is what you cannot say, this is what you cannot do. What additional responsibilities come upon a brand ambassador, especially when you are a brand ambassador of a big brand like Adidas or Puma or other one of these?
Yes, it is really an honor when such a big brand acknowledge your talent and also your image and want to associate with that. Um, the brands they're really into sports. They are so inspired with all the psychology of sports, the the mental and also the physical part of sports. So when you become a brand ambassador, um, it's them who want to be part of our world. That's
Yes,
something. But of
yes,
course, it's a good way to create a more leads. If a huge brand like Adidas or Puma have great athletes, and then they create a nice story around these athletes, then it's a
yes,
win-win. It's a win-win partnership.
correct.
So yeah, because we are athletes, we share the values of sports:
Yeah,
friendship, respect, ownership, and so we really also have to be like that. But
yeah, yeah,
but you can also be authentic. If you
yes,
have like McEnroe, we always talk about him as a tennis player because John McEnroe was a tennis player who would show his emotion on court and he would
yes,
scream, yell,
yes, yes.
yeah. So this is also very important to show your personality, and some brands really like it. Very sorry
Yeah,
for this, background.
No, no problem, no problem. It is good to know that there are real children actually over there and you are talking to real people. See, we
Yeah.
remember recently what happened with Tiger Woods after his problem with his wife. Most of the top brands suddenly withdrew all the sponsorship, all of his associations. So, being a brand ambassador is not only being faithful to that company, but it is who you are. If you have some problem with your wife, even though it is not connected with the sport, not connected with the brand, suddenly you lose everything. So it's
Yes,
not
I'm
about
gonna
only
tell.
the sport.
Yeah, I can tell about that because that's very interesting. Because in the USA, they have this moral, and you have to be the to show you're a good husband or good wife, and Tiger Hood was really an icon for the USA.
Yeah.
And even
Yes.
if he was secretly having all these affairs, it was not the first time he was having all these affairs, but then one time it became public, and he was really in
Yes.
trouble, and he lied. He said,
Mm,
"No, I didn't do anything." And in the
yeah.
USA, if you say in front of the people you lie, it's terrible. But I
Yes.
have another example of another athlete uh, in Jamaica, for example. I like to give his example because he was really honest with that. He's called Usain Bolt, and we would see him having parties after competition and being in parties with girls, and then he said, "Why would I lie? Yes, I'm Jamaican. I like girls. I like have fun." End of the story. End of the story. And then he was not. Nobody was suing him and make all this drama, and lose all his sponsors. No, it was clear.
Yes.
I'm a man.
Yeah.
I'm a Jamaican. I like girls. I like partying, and that's it. Next question.
Yes.
You know, it's true that
Yeah. That's the way you are.
some countries are very with athletes. Yeah, they want athletes to really show like, yeah, it's very special.
Yeah, yeah. My last question to you before I hand over to Prem Raj. You said you've now taken up the role of, coaching corporates, of becoming a speaker, to sharing your experiences of sports and how it applies to the corporate life, to real life. At any point, did you decide, no, let me become a coach to future athletes? Let me spot talent in children and help them become better athletes. Was that any time a choice, or you said, no, no, corporate life is better, let me go over there?
That's a very good question. And that question I'm going to answer very well because I was on the other side. I was an athlete. And because of great mentors, I had the opportunity to keep on. Because of great sponsors, I had the occasion to finance my trainings. So when I was retiring for sports, my heart stood for the athletes always. And then I was wondering, how can I help them the best? And then I decided to work with the decision makers, with the leaders, because they are the one who have the power to support young talent. So this is how I took it. I took it all the way around. That's why I decided to focus on leaders of companies, executives, because they want to become that modern day athletes. They want to be healthy,
Yes.
fit, physically, mentally. They want to unlock the gold medal mindsets. So
Yeah.
then, if I can support them on that, then they will invest. And if they invest, I will be able to support global athletes, young talents who don't know yet how to find sponsors, how to finance their study, or the career, how to understand how to get a good health or mental health, or to train well. So that is how I
Yeah.
took it.
Yeah. So I think partly, Premraj, this answers your question, why do athletes run counterclockwise? She's taken that counterclockwise literally and she's doing it like that.
Let's see
Over
that
to
in the
you,
stadium
Premraj.
next time.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, I would request participants, if you have a question for Reina, there are quite a few. Please type it in the chat, and I'm sure she will answer it. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Deepak. Quite insightful questions, quite revealing ones. By the way, Raina, Deepak is a money manager. So next time, if you want any financial things, and Deepak also promises to compound money for you.
Money.
Yes, that's a good to know.